What's up, guys? Hey, I got a question here. It says, what steps would you tell someone who wants to pursue pastorship? It's a question, honestly, that I get ever so often. And the first thing I would tell you is this, is that you should first pursue Christ before pursuing becoming a pastor. Oftentimes, people will become a Christian. They get really excited about Christ. And then for whatever reason, they decide and they say, man, I just love Jesus so much. I need to become a pastor. And it's not a bad idea. I mean, the world needs more pastors. The world needs more preachers. I love pastors and preachers, and I want to do everything that I can to try to invest in those people. But what happens is that sometimes people put their cart before the horse, and they look at the position of a pastor and they say, man, I wish I could talk in front of people, or I wish that I could be over a church. And those are admirable goals. I mean, the Bible says that a man that desires to be an overseer desires a noble task. That's what the Bible declares. But there's a lot of hidden steps that happens long before that a lot of times people aren't even thinking about. The first one is you have to fully fall in love with Jesus. Like the Bible even talks about and says that someone that's a new convert shouldn't even become a pastor because they're just not solid enough yet. If you feel like you have a desire to become a preacher or pastor, the first thing you need to do is totally and completely fall in love with Jesus. You got to fall in love with his word. If you are not in love with Jesus and his word, and you're not like demonstratively serving God in every area of your life, both in your public and private life, at your work and in your community, if people around live you don't even know that you're a Christian, you are light years away from even becoming a Christian. If the second part of it is this, if you don't, or not becoming a Christian, becoming a pastor, if you don't love people, you are not called to be a pastor. And when I say love people, you have got to love people, not just people in the church, people outside of the church. Like if you don't love people that live around you, if you don't love people when you're sitting on a plane, if you don't love people when you're standing in a checkout line, you're probably not called to be a pastor, because a pastor pastors people. And so if you don't have a love for people, you've got to ask God to give you a love for people. That's another big, huge component. Another huge component is you have to be a person that begins to influence people in private before you influence people in public. If people aren't interested in listening to you when you're in a parking lot, or people aren't interested in listening to you when you're at a party, they're not interested in listening to you when you're up in public either. There's not some magical thing that happens when you're up in front of people that all of a sudden people want to listen to you. I mean, they just kind of have to listen to you if somehow somebody puts you up in front of people. And so the process of becoming an influencer happens long before you're in front of people, because the people that are in the position to bring you to a place of influence will see you influencing people, will see you living that life for Jesus, will see your love for people and say, like, this person is an influencer. They've got to have more influence. They've got the ability to influence more people. Now, people have asked this question. They say, like, well, should I go to college? Should I get a degree? The answer is, yeah, sometimes yes, you should. I have a bachelor's degree and I have a master's degree, and I continue to read and study and gain more knowledge. But knowledge in and of itself doesn't develop the character necessary to be able to be a pastor, to be able to be an influencer. And so what happens a lot of times is that people actually have a desire that isn't rooted in the basics of Christianity, which is love for God and love for people, that when it comes to being a pastor and they've kind of missed this step, they've got a lot of head knowledge, but they don't have any heart for it. And so then when they deliver messages or they share content, it's not connected to a love of people and a love for Jesus Christ. And so education is great, but education in and of itself isn't the determining factor of whether or not somebody should or shouldn't become a pastor. Because I know many people that are pastors that don't have education, that do great. I know a lot of people that have PhDs, that they don't have a heart of a pastor, and it just doesn't connect. And so my thought for you is this, is that if you have a desire to become a pastor, fall in love with Jesus, fall in love with his word, fall in love with his church. If you don't enjoy going to church now and you're not a pastor, it's not going to magically happen that all of a sudden you're a pastor and you love going to church. If you don't love being in the body and you're not there every time the doors are open, chances are that when you become a pastor, you're going to get burned out. I mean, I'm 16 years in and I've probably got at least another 25 to go before I even think about retiring. And I love being at church. I love being around his people. I love God's people. I just love people in general. And so you got to do a little bit of heart check and see where you're at. And that would be a good step. So that's my thought of the day, man. If you got something out of this, please like, share, and comment. If you got a question, faithandvictory.com/question. If we're not friends on social media, please find me. I love you guys. Have a great day. Bye. What's funny is I remember back in the 90s, people drank Evian and everybody mocked those people. They're like, why would you buy bottled water? It's a perfectly good tap. You know, that's like a multi-billion-dollar industry.